Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Furman Athletics. I am your host, Dan Scott, the voice of Furman Athletics. Good to be back with you, and we've got a special one for you today. Normally, there is somebody sitting right beside me here in the booth. You can see that's not the case today. We are going to be spending some time here in just a moment letting you listen to and watch an interview that I recorded via Zoom with Dr. Tom LeGrand, a gentleman who played football here at Furman for a couple of years back in 89 and 90, was a teammate of a guy by the name of Allen Edwards, who many of you remember built his legend as a true freshman in the national championship game in 1988 when, as a nose tackle, just beat up on the All-American center of Georgia Southern and helped the Paladins to that 88 national championship game win. And just an incredible football player, an incredible person, went on to coach and have an impact on so many lives in so many different ways, and then had a debilitating stroke in 2013 and has been in long-term care ever since, will be in long-term care for the rest of his life. You can see some information on the left side of your screen right now and scrolling at the bottom. When we go to the interview for the 25 minutes that Tom and I talked, you won't see any of that. But we'll circle back to this screen and you will see it again before we wrap it up. But the ways that you can donate after you hear the story of what Allen Edwards is facing, the challenges, the hope that Tom and the folks who are providing his care have in providing long-term care to take any questions about that care out of play. All of that is this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. Here is the conversation that I had just a little while ago with Allen Edwards' teammate, Dr. Tom LeGrand. Well, Tom, it's good to see you, first of all, and I know that we're talking about something that is very close to your heart here with your former teammate, Allen Edwards. Before we do that, just take a few minutes and catch people up on what you personally are doing right now.
Well, I do apologize for having to wear a Limestone University shirt on a Furman Furman broadcast. But I am the university chaplain at Limestone and direct the Christian education, the Adama Christian Leadership Program here at Limestone. So I'm teaching some classes and trying to get students pumped up to be good leaders in the community.
Outstanding. That's good work. We need a few of those these days, don't we?
We do. And Limestone's a really good place. I will quickly give a plug that we're very excited about Limestone football, that we have Mike Fury coming back as coach and Jericho Kochery coming as a wide receivers coach. He's putting together a heck of a staff. So I have several students who are football players, and, it's been a tough few years. So they're really excited about some changes and some new things on the way.
Well, it's good. It's good to have some positive momentum heading both on the field and off. All right, let's get to the matter at hand here. Everybody in with any connection to Furman at all knows the name Allen Edwards, who I obviously was before my time here, but if I've heard the stories, he walked onto this campus as a freshman defensive lineman and just absolutely started dominating people from the jump. You had the opportunity to play with him as a teammate for 2 years in 89 and 90. What was that experience like?
It was like looking up at the sky a lot after you put you on the ground. That's what a lot of it was like. So Allen, and he kind of made his legend in the national championship game, where he pretty much dominated an All-American center, forced fumbles, made, terrific plays. Well, then I come on as a freshman walk-on at Furman. And my first one-on-one is against Allen Edwards. And after he picked me up and turned me inside out and basically made me a pretzel, Steve Dugan, our All-American center, came and saved me and said, "Here, I'll take this one." And I was like, "Oh, that's okay with me." It's a little hard to describe, Dan, for people who didn't see him play, just how great he was. And you have to keep in mind, he won Defensive Player of the Year in the Southern Conference as a nose guard. That's a dominating position.
Yes.
And never talked much, never said much on the field. He basically went from hands on hips to a 4-point stance to grabbing you by the shoulder pads. And that was his whole get down. he was just the best of the best at it.
Yeah, well, the stories obviously still echo off of Paris Mountain and back here at Paladin Stadium about the dominant player he was. And when his career was over, he went on to coach and had such an impact on so many lives. And a number of years later, that impact would come back full circle to you and your son in the year 2000, right?
That's correct. I had moved away from Greenville and knew Allen was coaching, but we got back for a playoff game that we had against Hofstra back when Hofstra still had a football program. And so went to practice on Friday, and we loved Furman University, and my family loves Furman, and I kind of wanted to instill that in my kids, obviously. So I took my son to practice, and he's high-fiving players, and Allen sees me and says, "Hey, you're Tommy LeGrand." See, anyone who knew me before 1991 knows me as Tommy. So I was like, yeah. And he started talking to me about the FFPA, Furman Football Players Association. Well, Dan, I only played a couple of years at Furman. And so I kind of felt like, well, that's not really for me. I didn't finish my career. But he really insisted. He said, no, you need to be a part of this. You love Furman as much as anybody, and you love football, and you need to be in this. And so I went ahead and joined and have been a member for these many years, and really got back involved in about 2007 when we came back to Greenville. And Allen connected with me and helped me a little bit when my son was looking for a place to go to college, and talked to him a little bit about his play at nose guard in high school. And could you have a better teacher than that guy to give you some tips on what you need to do? And so that kind of went back and forth, and we didn't have a real close connection, but we were just, how you doing every now and then, and check on each other and that kind of thing, up until all this kind of went south for him.
Well, that came in 2013. Tell me about that phone call, or how you found out that this mountain of a man, this strong, seemingly invincible man, suddenly is in a fight for his life.
Well, it really is an amazing story, because this isn't, I'm kind of one of the people who helps to take care of Allen, and that's another whole story we might get into another day, and how I ended up doing that. But other guys if it hadn't been for Furman football and for the FFPA, I'm not sure Allen ever would have gotten the help he needed. These guys found out he had a stroke and was in Charleston, and got him back to the upstate. And Don Clardy, Brian Anderson, Ken Pettis, former athletic director at Furman, has been affiliated with Furman for I don't know how long. And they got him back and into a facility that he could be taken care of, and got him into an apartment. And we've had help from David Adams, other guys that have been a part of Furman football for a long time, who really just stepped up to make sure he was cared for. I was working at Gardner-Webb at the time. I was at Gardner-Webb University, and had a day where I could come and take him to a doctor's appointment. And Dan, this is 2015. And when I went into that apartment and saw him trying to just struggle to walk out and to get to the car, I cried all the way home. I just, had to let it out, because I couldn't believe this was my guy, who had been, as you said, such a giant of a human being, and so just amazing in my life in a lot of ways, was struggling like this. And just having to battle the way that he did. He had a massive stroke and was not able to get all the care that he needed. And his family is just not able to provide all the means that he needs for him. It's not that they don't care, they don't want to, they just not, like a lot of families in this country, they're not able to do all they need to do for him. So the FFPA and the people at Furman University really stepped up to make sure he was cared for. 2018, I ended up coming back to Greenville to work, and took over as his legal guardian. And that has continued, and we still do that. So we handle a lot of his paperwork, taxes. And Dan, I don't know if people realize this, the amount of paperwork for someone who has a disability is stunning. It is absolutely unbelievable how much mail we get just regarding his insurance. So we have kind of taken over that role. We're not in a financial position to take care of him, and that's where other people have stepped up to give and to donate and to make sure that he can stay. He's at Windsor House Assisted Living. He's not verbal, so he doesn't talk very much, but he can hear you, and he does like to get phone calls, and he does like to get visits. It can be interesting because he can't always say what he wants to say or communicate what he wants to communicate, but it does lift his spirits to hear from people. So if anyone wants to visit him, we can help them do that and make sure they can get to see him. I
want to interject here. I also see him from time to time commenting on things on Facebook. So yeah. he is interacting on social media and trying to stay That's right. Interactive as much as possible there. And we've had that question. Yes, that is Alan on Facebook. It is him. He can't quite, and he's got huge hands. Well, his right hand doesn't work. And that was his dominant hand. Right. So his left hand, he does the best he can to send messages. Sometimes he gets out what he wants and sometimes he doesn't. So, but yes, he's glad to kind of interact with you on Facebook in one way or another. We're visiting with Dr. Tom LeGrand, who is, as he just said, the legal guardian for Allen Edwards, just an incredible football player here. Was a freshman on the '88 national championship team, who back in 2013 suffered a debilitating stroke and is in long-term care and is going to be for the rest of his life. Correct. And let's just get down, Tom, to where the rubber meets the road, because I read the information sheet that you sent me, that you put out. The bare necessities are being met, but there is a need to establish the fact that he's going to be taken care of long term, and that's what we're doing here today to kind of put that need out in front of as many people as we can. You've got a lofty goal to raise $300,000 to try to make sure that he's taken care of for about the next 10 years or so, right? Correct. And that was kind of set. A couple of guys, David Adams, Richie Harris, they contacted me and said, let's try to go for something large this time. Let's get so that we don't have to keep coming back and asking people for money every 2 years or every 3 years and that kind of thing. So what we did was we decided to set that lofty goal, and we're going to keep it out there. And as long as we can, people can donate through GoFundMe. The best way to donate is to send it to the Allen Edwards Fund. Now, I know people don't do checks anymore, but we do take checks, and to send that to 200 Covington Road and Greenville 29617. Yeah, you're going to have that address up later. When we get back to the main screen after you and I finish, people will see that address scrolling on the bottom of the screen. So we'll make sure that they see that again. So what Alan gets in disability and other benefits pays for about half of his expenses. He has to be on some very expensive medications that we're now having trouble getting them at a lower cost. Whereas we were getting that at one point and still kind of battling with the insurance company and the medical folks to get that done. So it has been a struggle just to make sure we can keep up. We want to make sure we get a fund put together that we can take care of him for the next 7 to 10 years, and then we'll see where we're at that point. And, anyone, and there may be resources out there we don't know about. People who could help with this kind of thing that we have not heard of. And we are more than happy to take ideas from people. If you want to contact me or contact Kim Pettis, we will do whatever we can. But yeah, we need about $300,000 and we've got about 18 so far. Well, so what are we talking about as far as what he needs on a monthly basis, dollar-wise, to survive? I mean, people need to know the circumstances, and don't sugarcoat it. Let's tell people exactly how dire the circumstances are.
Certainly. So for him to stay at Windsor House and to care for his medication and whatever other, clothing or whatever expenses he has, it's about $7,000 a month. We get about $3,800 a month. So it's a pretty significant gap that we have there. And, again, half of 7,500 or 7,000, that's a lot of money. And there's nowhere to get it other than the kindness and generosity of others. And it's not that Allen's any more important or any more special than any other person in this condition, but he's one of ours, I guess you would say. He's a Furman guy. He's a football legend, coach, all the things. And I thank God every day for those guys, because they have done so much to help us and to get us along. But we need to do a little bit more. We got to get him to the next level and to the next hump. We take him to the gym about twice a week, and that doesn't cost us too much. But if anybody wants to come see a workout, it's a sight to see when we get to the gym. I will tell you that. and let me promise you, for that right arm, he may not be that strong. That left arm is stout. He can do just about anything with that left arm.
Still, after all this,
he's still, we bench press every now and then. We can get him on the bench, and no, if you want to work out, get Allen up and down off that bench. That's a workout, all right. But he can still do it, and so it's good for him to get that movement, get that motion out there.
Dr. Tom LeGrand with us on this edition of Inside Furman Athletics. The format a little different. Normally, the guest is sitting with me here in studio where I am. We're doing this via Zoom because he is working up in Gaffney at Limestone University at his job. So we're taking advantage of the available technology and bringing the circumstances again of Allen Edwards, one of Furman football's own, to you in hopes that we can generate the financial support needed to help provide long-term care for this member of the Furman family who suffered that stroke back in 2013 and is going to require long-term care for the rest of his life. And if you're just tuning in, or maybe you didn't hear what Tom said a moment ago, it takes about $7,000 a month to provide the necessary care for Allen, and what they get through insurance and everything else is about $3,800 a month. So I always brag about my West Virginia math skills, Tom, not being real good, but even I know that's a $3,200 gap that needs to be filled on a monthly basis. And I admire you and the members of the FFPA for saying, you know what, let's go ahead and let's swing for the fence here, to borrow a baseball term, and let's get this taken care of so we don't have to keep coming back and continuing to ask time and time and time again. And look, we know that there are many worthy causes out there. There are many, many people in need out there. There are people inside the Furman family who are in need. We know all of this, and people are getting asked to contribute to things that are worthy causes all the time.
All the time.
This is something that I hope resonates with the Furman family, and particularly the Furman football family, because this is a guy whose legend looms large, not only on the field, but off. And now he needs the support of people who have loved and supported him over the years. He needs it now more than he has ever needed it before.
And Dan, first of all, Dan, even as a Bengals fan, you can figure out that math. So credit to you for you on that one.
All right, see, I was going to be nice, and now you want to take it. You want to take it in another direction altogether.
Well, we'll finish that out another day.
There you go.
I think Dan is aware that I'm a huge Steelers fan, so the fact that his Bengals are good is really sticking in my craw.
Yeah, people like you can't stand that the worm is finally turning in my favor, but that's another story for another day, my friend.
Oh, but we have Mitch Trubisky now, so anyway. But yeah, I think the people need to understand we are out of options with Allen. We're doing everything we can possibly do, unless there's, again, like I said, if there's something out there we don't know about, let us know. But we are doing all we can do to care for him. And the less time we have to spend on fundraising, the more time we can put into him. The more time we have to take him to the gym, get him to the ball games. And I got to thank Chad O'Rear, one of our guys who, make sure he got him out to the scrimmage last Saturday. And was able to have him out there for that. And he loves going to those things. So if we can take care of this fundraising thing and get him to a good amount of $300,000 plus, then we can spend more time working on helping him. And the pandemic was hard, man. The pandemic was really hard on him. Not being able to get out and go anywhere. And we want to get him back out there and feeling good and moving around.
Tom, is it, you know what they say about assuming, you go down a dangerous road when you assume, but it's been since 2013. So is it safe to assume that the physical status that Allen Edwards is in now is as good as he's going to get? I mean, you talked about his inability to speak very well and communicate, right, not use the right arm. And this is how he's going to live the rest of his life? That's correct. And barring some kind of miracle or technology we don't know about that comes up, he is going to struggle like this for the rest of his life. This is as good as we are able to do. The only thing we could get Allen to do that might help is to lose a little weight, but that's hard to do when you can't move. Right. You're not mobile, and he was a big dude before this happened. So again, we try to get him to work out, but yes, he's going to struggle with speech and with movement in his right side forever. So we just have to kind of accept that reality. Again, not saying a miracle can happen, but so far, this is what it looks like we're going to be dealing with. With the speech issues, but his other cognitive things. I mean, he can understand, right? Right. So if you said he likes telephone calls and people coming to see him, when you speak to him, he understands what you're saying. He just can't talk back to you very well. It sometimes takes him a minute, and so some things like he'll say yes even when he means no. Mm-hmm. So it takes him a second. So he'll say yes, and then he'll be like, and then he'll say no. So you have to go kind of slow, but he knows who you are. Right. He knows who. We had a great time in 2019 when Dan, I've lost the name of the college. Point College came up to play. Yeah, Julius Dixon. Julius Dixon, who was his dear friend and coached with him, came in and saw him. And I don't know that I've ever seen him happier than when he saw JD that day. So those types of things are really uplifting to him. That's what keeps him going. That's what keeps him going, for sure. All right. So let's as we get into wrap up mode here, let's remind people of how they can help. There are multiple ways. And again, I'll ask Tom to give you the address again. But when we go back to the main screen, as I close out here in just a few minutes, it'll be scrolling on the bottom. So you don't have to worry necessarily about memorizing it, but give us that address again, Tom. Certainly. It is the Allen Edwards Fund, 200 Covington Road, Greenville, 29617. Okay. There's also a GoFundMe set up, the Allen Edwards Recovery Fund at GoFundMe, and that can be reached through the GoFundMe site, can be reached through the FFPA Facebook page, all of those places, right? There are links there. That is correct. And folks, if you need to connect with me, if you have questions, I'm glad to answer them. Probably the best way to get me is by Twitter. I'm a little ashamed to say, at Dr. Tom 78. And so you can follow me and connect with me and ask me questions, and I'll share the phone number, and then we can go from there. Okay. People who knew you back in the day, would they have ever thought that you would be referring to yourself as Dr. Tom LeGrand? No one. I guarantee you, no professor I had my freshman year at Furman thought that doctor was going to be anywhere close to my name. And yet, other than an emergency room. Right. And yet here we are. All these years later. Wonders never cease. Yeah, that's right. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for being diligent in what you're doing, reaching out to me. about this, and then being willing to reschedule when your schedule got a little hectic earlier this week, because I think this is important, that we need to get this out in front of as many of the Furman people as possible. Football, yes, but in front of the whole Furman family, academics and athletics. They need to know about the plight of Allen Edwards. And I know, and I'm the eternal optimist, Tom.
Sure.
There are people out there who will see this, who have the ability to stroke that check themselves and get this thing taken care of. Now, we're not asking for one person to do that. If one person wanted to do it, then more power to you. But if enough people come along and will help a little bit, we can get this $300,000 plus in the bank and make sure that Allen's long-term care is provided for. And then, as you said, then the physical resources can be poured into him and making sure that physically he's taken care of, and not having to worry about, are we going to have a place for him to live 2, 3, 6 months down the road?
That's right. And that's a great point, Dan. We've had gifts anywhere from $20 to $20,000. And I mean that literally. Mm-hmm. All of it makes a difference. All of it most of what we have gotten to this point has been people chipping in a little bit here and a little bit there, and that is perfectly fine. I was a pastor long enough to know that it's the folks who give $5 in the offering plate as well as the folks who write the big check. So it's a both and. It's not a one or the other. And we like everybody in that.
I have done a lot of fundraising over my lifetime. When I was on the air at the radio station in Clemson for 11 years, we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for different charity projects. And there were the big givers, but most of the money came from the people who were giving, 10, 15, 20, maybe $100 or something like that. Now, you need the big ones, and you like the big ones, and you want as many of them as you can get. But don't think, well, all I have is $10. That's not going to make a difference, because yes, it will.
Hey, Dan, I have got somebody knocking on my office door.
All right, buddy. Well, you said you had a 10:30. It's 10:28. So
10:28. That's right. So we'll talk again when football season comes around and see where we're at that point.
All right, Tom. Thank you, buddy.
Dan, thank you.
All right, that was my conversation with Tom LeGrand about Furman's own Allen Edwards. I hope that you got the scope of the situation. He is going to need long-term care for the rest of his life. The limitations that he has physically, his ability to communicate is limited, his inability to use his right arm, all of these things, the medicine, the cost of the care, the cost of where he's living, the assisted living facility, it all comes into play. And there have been people who have come to his aid since this happened in 2013. What they are trying to do now is put to rest any future issues. The need is immediate. The need is somewhat dire immediately. But if they can get to that $300,000 or beyond, you're talking about taking care of his living arrangements, his medicine, and those type of needs for the next 10 years plus. So that's what this is about, doing this big ask, putting this out there in hopes that they can get this done and not have to continue to come back every 6 months, every year, and continuing to ask for more help for Allen. I hope that this resonated with you. I hope that you will find a way to help. Again, whether it's $5, $10, or whether it's $5,000 or $10,000. There's no such thing as a gift that's too small, and there's certainly no such thing as a gift that's too big. You can see on the left side of your screen or scrolling at the bottom of your screen, again, the Allen Edwards Fund if you want to write a physical check, 200 Covington Road, Greenville, South Carolina, 29617. If you'd like to donate online, you can access the Allen Edwards Recovery Fund through GoFundMe, their website. Just search Allen Edwards Recovery Fund, or you can go to the FFPA Facebook page, and there's a link there where you can find the information. Thank you to Dr. Tom LeGrand, not only for what he has done in becoming the legal guardian of Allen Edwards, but for taking the time to come and share today with what's gone on and what the plan and the goal is to try to get Allen taken care of long term. Let's see what we can do, Furman fans. Let's see what we can do, okay? Thank you for tuning in. I have particularly enjoyed this particular episode of Inside Furman Athletics, and I will see if I can say the word particular a couple of more times before we're done, because it's a particularly good word. Next week, if all goes according to plan, we'll visit with a guy who knows a little bit about fundraising himself. He is in a new member of the Furman family in that department in the athletic side of things. Alex Marinelli will be joining us on Inside Furman Athletics. Until then, for all of us here at Furman, I'm Dan Scott, saying God bless you and so long, everybody.